So I got a chance to watch the movie Late Night with the Devil. I wanted to see it in theaters, but it wasn't playing anywhere near me. But it did drop on Shudder the other day, so I got a chance to watch it on streaming. And I've heard a lot of hype about this movie. I've heard a lot of people talking about it. I've been very curious about it. And the lead actor, whose name I can never remember, David Malchian, he always plays a very minor role in a lot of movies. Like he's in Dune. He's in Blade Runner 2049. He's Polka Dot Man in the Suicide Squad movie, but he never has really had a chance to have that leading role. And here he finally gets a chance to sink his teeth into a character that is really unique, really fun to watch, and have that leading role experience in a horror movie. It's called Late Night with the Devil because it basically plays on the idea of the late night talk show host. And one of the most unique things about this movie to me is that the majority of this film is filmed as if you are watching this late night episode. So it actually feels like you're watching an episode of Late Night with Conan O'Brien or David Letterman or something, except you have this new, fictional host in the lead. But you could kind of just throw this on in the background and it would actually feel like you're watching a late night talk show, which I think is one of the most unique aspects about it. Now, it does things outside of that box too. It does basically three different things. One is that it is filmed as if it is a real life late night talk show that you are watching, where he comes out, he does the opening monologue, he has the guests on, all that stuff happens as if you're watching a show. But every time that it goes to commercial break, it cuts to black and white footage of things that are happening behind the scenes that you wouldn't be able to see if you were actually watching the episode. And then towards the end of the movie, it becomes more in real time, like you're there kind of facing everything up front and you're no longer watching a TV show. You're kind of more in the character's perspective. So I've heard a lot of hype about this movie, and it can be very dangerous sometimes if a movie is hyped up a lot and then you finally see it and maybe it doesn't live up to the expectations that were set. And with this movie in particular, I will say that it might not have lived up to my expectations, but I still really, really enjoyed this movie and thought it was a lot of fun. Actually, that's one thing that I would say as like a disclaimer of this movie, that if you're expecting like pure, deep, dark psychological horror, like if you're expecting like The Exorcist, that is not this movie. This movie is much more fun. It still is a horror movie, but I would put it more in the same catalog as like Creepshow or something like that. Something a little bit more, or Trick or Treat, where it is a horror movie, but the emphasis is more on the entertainment value and the fun factor of it, rather than like making you, terrified to the point that you're going to hide behind your couch or something like that. It's a much more fun experience. And I think like the talk show format kind of lends itself to that. So the general premise is that the lead character is this talk show host that kind of wants to help his ratings and stuff, and things aren't maybe going as well. He also might have a little bit of tragedy in his history, so he's just trying to put on a good show. He's trying to make a good episode, and it's a Halloween-themed episode. So in this episode, he has guests come on. He has one guest that claims that they can communicate with the dead. He has another guest that is like a psychologist that has this little girl with her that she's adopted that comes from this like satanic cult, and supposedly the girl is possessed, so she's on. And then there's another guy on that's a hypnotist that is also a skeptic that admits that his hypnotism is all a trick, it's all a fabrication, and he's trying to prove that all of the other tricks, all the other people here are also just playing a trick, and that there's nothing actually supernatural going on. It's all psychological, that there's a rational explanation for everything. And he was, other than the lead character, he was my favorite character, the skeptic hypnosis guy that they brought out. I thought he was a really fun character to have. And a lot of these characters are a little bit wacky, a little bit over the top, but things do tend to get a little bit more serious, a little bit darker as the movie goes on. But in the opening, it really just feels like it has this fun, silly factor. And a lot of that plays into the fact that they are representing or recreating what a late night talk show would be. How Conan O'Brien always had like Andy Richter, kind of like the co-host that he would make fun of. There's a character like that in this show, in this movie as well. So they have all of the tropes that you would expect to see in a late night show in the movie. This also takes place in the 1970s. So you have that kind of throwback feel to it, where the footage itself, has the film scratches and the film grain on it. Everyone is dressed like the 70s. It's got this old school vibe. It's also back in the day where more people would probably be paying attention to a late night show than nowadays, where everybody watches everything on the internet. And back then, everything is going live, the audience is reacting live. And also to kind of coincide with the fact that it takes place in the 70s, there are a lot of throwback moments to practical effects that you would see back there. There's one in particular involving worms, which I will not spoil, but that was such a fun moment, and the practical effects in it were great. However, it also does have like digital effects and CGI, which I felt did not vibe very well with the tone and the theme of the throwback style that they were going with. Like everything was working very, very well with the practical effects and the makeup effects and everything, and the found footage style of when they would show clips of things, and the presentation of the late night talk show. But then when there would be CGI, it would just completely throw me off. Like it just doesn't feel like the CGI vibes with the rest of the tone of the movie. There's also a little bit of a controversy about AI art being used in the movie, and I am very anti-AI. Like I think the robot apocalypse is nigh, and that we're all going to be destroyed by Skynet, and I'm not even joking about that. So I'm absolutely against using AI in movies and TV shows and taking away jobs from actual artists and writers and creators. However, I will say that the AI that is used in this movie are just little bumpers that they would show before the late night show would go to commercial break. You know how every late night show might have like, coming up next or something, and it would be on screen for a couple of seconds before the show would go to commercial break. That's when they use the AI art. All things being equal, I wish it was not here, and I wish they would have just had somebody draw something and actually used regular artwork. So that's definitely an L for this movie. But I don't think it's a big enough factor in this movie specifically that it takes away something that, is important to the film. Like it's not like they used it to create, the effects, or to create the script, or to take something away from somebody. Other than whoever could have just drawn the title card. I think all of the performances were great, and I think the way that it builds up to the climax is absolutely fantastic. Like I said, it's a really fun movie. I can't really talk about too many specifics because it gives away the big moments. Basically, every guest that he brings out has a particular moment, and they have moments where you think, like, is this really happening, or is this a trick, or are they faking it in some way? Like, one of my favorite bits that they do is they bring out a guy that throws out names, like, I'm sensing somebody is here. There's some, is it David? Is it Cassandra? Like, he throws out random names until eventually somebody in the audience is like, I knew somebody with that name. And he's like, yes, that's who I was talking about. So you feel, obviously, that he's fabricating it, right? But then as the story goes, or as the episode goes on, there's more and more moments with him that maybe he is telling the truth, and maybe he is picking up something. And then ultimately, you can imagine, this is a horror movie, so you can imagine eventually something gets revealed, and it all just goes into chaos. So yeah, ultimately, I think it's a really fun movie, and David Dastmalchian does a fantastic job in the lead role. I hope that this movie inspires other people to cast him in a lead, because he always plays a very minor or supporting character or weird character somewhere that doesn't really get a chance to shine as much, but I think that he's a very memorable actor. I think that most people recognize him at this point, just not by name. I think that we recognize him by seeing him, and I think that he does have the acting chops to be put into a lead role. I think this is a perfect example of that, and hopefully moving forward, he'll be put in more lead roles. So should you see this movie? I mean, I think it's a really fun, entertaining horror movie that has a lot of creativity to it. I don't think it's going to, stand the test of time, perhaps as like a classic forever or anything like that. And there are some choices in it. Like I said, I don't know why they decided to use CGI when everything else was practical, and it just made more sense for that era. So that kind of threw me out of it. But performances are great. The setup is great. Creativity is there. I think it's a fun movie. If you're a horror fan in general, I would definitely say to check it out. I think this year, 2024, is going to be one of the best years for horror movies in a long time. Immaculate came out. I really, really enjoyed that. I didn't see The First Omen, but I heard that that was really good too. Later this year, we have Maxine. We have Alien Romulus. We have Longlegs. That looks freaking weird. I don't know what that's going to be about. Terrifier 3. So many horror movies. Nosferatu. So many great horror movies are going to come out this year, so I can't wait for them. So yeah, Late Night with the Devil, I enjoyed it. I had fun with it. Like I said, I didn't think it was like a 10 out of 10, but I'd probably give it like at least 7.5 to an 8. I really enjoyed it, had a lot of fun with it, and I would recommend it. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. If you've seen the movie, go ahead and comment down below what you thought of it. Give the video a like and comment to help share it in the algorithm. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys next time.